How are you? How are you?
Good, good.
There's everybody.
So, well, let me start off another way.
Now you sound like me.
Yeah, well, I'm getting up to your age. All right, so, tell me two things that you have been made aware of over the last 2 weeks. Notice I didn't say two things that I've taught you. All right? Give me two things that you've been made aware of the last 2 weeks.
One is the difference in our population compared to other populations.
Okay?
And the second one is related, it's how learning styles are different for many adults than for children.
Okay? Anybody else?
Andragogy instead of pedagogy.
Andragogy instead of pedagogy. Everybody good? All right. What else?
Concentration on adult learners.
Say again?
Adult learners versus kids, how it's different, so it goes into what.
Okay, we cannot teach adults the same way that we teach children. What else?
We have to adapt our styles to the person, and we may have to try 5 or 6 different ways of teaching.
We have to
To
adapt
reach
to
person.
those 3 different learning styles. We should always hit at least 2, because we may not be always hit which one? The kinesthetic one.
Every class
All
has
right.
its own personality.
And that too. All right. If I ask this question, because this is important, has anybody ever thought about this? What is our culture here? What is our culture? What is our culture?
Adult military.
But that's the makeup of our culture. But what is our culture? What do I mean by a culture? What do I mean by a culture?
A mission statement, are you referring to that?
Well, I'm not referring to that, but we can get to that. What is our culture? Do we have a culture?
We do, it's hard to define though. Just, I've never really thought about defining it, so.
Can you define it for us? Maybe we can think of something.
Well, I could define it for us if we had one.
Would it be a hands-on experience?
We don't
culture?
really, all right, so again, we don't really have one.
Right.
All right?
It's sometimes, from my experience, we have a history of almost like a express or in and out type of franchise where people are here to get education, to either to get some accredited certificates,
Okay.
or some degree to move on to do the next phase.
Okay.
So a lot of times we don't have this ingrained culture, like you said.
One thing that's been consistent over the years, we are a commuting school.
A commuter school. So then our mindset is geared towards satisfying a commuter student, satisfying people who are coming in here just for a quick learning experience. But it should be, and this is what we're talking about today, to survive, that should be our culture. All right, to survive, that should be our culture. All right? A culture is a set of mores and beliefs by which you act on a daily basis. All right? And so that should be our culture. And so we're going to talk about that. All right? Because again, and if you took a look at the article I posted, and yes, it was geared towards Christian schools, but the points in it were quite hitting home, all right? Students, the first one that started right out the article, students are speaking with their feet, all right? If they're dissatisfied, they're just walking out the door, yes?
So you're saying that the culture is retention and assessment?
That-
Exactly.
So the more, our mores, the way we act on a daily basis should be driving or should be geared towards that. Right?
That's everybody, I mean, any school then.
That's any school, because what school is not, what school is not suffering a retention problem?
Yeah.
Alright. They all are. And the point of the article is that the effort has to be focused mainly on that first year. Because in that first year, if the students aren't having a good experience, what are they gonna do? They're gonna leave. So we're gonna talk about what contributes to retention and assessment. Now, we're not gonna talk about what assessment is really, because that's the topic of the next few weeks, but we're gonna discuss how it contributes to retention. All right? So, oh, I have a clicker, why am I doing that? All right, so, again, students are voting with their feet, they're just leaving in that first year. If they're not satisfied, if we don't, all right, show them that they're getting an education for their money, they're just gonna walk, all right? If we don't make them feel comfortable in their environment, they're just gonna walk. If we don't show them that we care about why they're here and we care about their learning, they're just gonna walk, all right? A lot of institutions focus on retention, all right, doing things to keep the students in place. All right, so we buy pool tables, we buy ping pong tables, all right? Things to make the students happy when they're here, all right? But that's just only a small piece of it, all right? We also do things like, all right, what can you do for this student, all right? That'll cause you issues. Look at ITT, their motto was don't fail the student. San Marcos' model was don't fail students, all right? How does that make you feel as a teacher?
The
When
students
you are-
become entitled, right?
Right.
They feel
all right.
entitled, yeah.
The students feel entitled, all right? The faculty don't feel as if they have power in the classroom, because staff or management is saying, you have to do everything impossible to keep that student.
Well, the quality of the institution goes down too.
And the quality of the institution goes down, all right? So, what effects do these have? Well, again, the students get this feeling of entitlement, all right? Staff feel like they're powerless, all right? And we must meet unrealistic student demands. All right? So, retention, that should become natural. Retention should come natural out of things that you do in the school. Retention should come out of what you set up as an environment, not only in the classroom, but activities outside the classroom. It should just come naturally from that, all right? Fit is it. We have to make that student feel as if he fits in, all right? What does that include? We have to make sure that they oh, can't do that.
That was quick.
Yeah. I don't use these things because I don't do PowerPoints. All right, I'm only doing PowerPoints here, so you guys are special. All right, we have to make the students feel, all right, that they're a good fit academically, all right, that they're learning something. All right, we have to give them the desire to learn. Socially, amongst the rest of their peers, they can't feel as if they're outcasts. Why are you shaking your head?
I cannot give them a desire to learn. That they've got to be self-motivated.
Well, okay, yes,
I can
I
work on not
rephrased that,
suppressing.
I phrased that incorrectly, all right? But we do have, if we address the way they learn, all right, and if we target that, and they can see that they're learning because we're targeting that learning, then that will motivate them to continue. Did I say it right that time?
Success breeds success.
Success breeds success, all right? All right. Socially, spiritually, and the more likely they will remain enrolled. All right. 5 conditions that support retention. Expectations. What do I mean by that? Expectations. Whose expectations? My expectations? Their expectations, all right? We have to make the expectations clear to the student, all right? What is expected of the student? Can he expect by pursuing that, all right, degree program in cybersecurity or graphic design, all right? Make the expectations clear. Provide them support, academic support, all right? Provide them that academic support and that support from those other departments, from student services, from financial aid, all right? Feedback. Let the student know how he's doing, all right? How they're doing academically, and make them feel involved, all right? Make them feel involved in what's being taught in the classroom, all right? And again, this goes back to making sure that you address all of those learning styles, and then making sure that learning occurs. And how do we make sure that that learning occurs? What's that A word?
Assessment.
Assessment. All right, yes?
Involvement. Could you elaborate more on involvement? I mean, we're one-on-one with them, or they're?
Make the student involved, make the student feel involved in what's going on in that classroom. Make the student involved as part of the learning process. All right.
One example I use sometimes, I ask them, do you guys want to do a team project? I let them make the choice, and they choose that, makes them more excited.
Let the students choose topics for their own team project. Make them feel involved that they are part of creating that learning environment. All right. Summing up, students are more likely to persist when they find themselves in settings that are committed to their success. All right. Hold high expectations for their learning. Provide needed academic and social support and frequent feedback about their performance, and actively involve them with other students and faculty in learning. All right. That's those entire 5 things. All right. Now we get to the other piece. Why assessment? Why do we do assessment? Why do we do assessment?
It's to make sure we do what we say we're going to do.
Make sure we do what we say we're going to do.
Well, we're assessing how they are doing.
Okay?
And if we're not living up to it, we can improve. And that's why
Okay.
we assess what the institution's doing.
Is assessment a one-time thing?
No,
We
it's
just do
ongoing.
it for the good of ACICS or WASC?
Things change, so we have to keep up with that.
Should be continual, right, Sir Charles?
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle, which means what? That it never ends, all right? But what about if we get to that, let's say, 98% retention? Do we stop? Do we
No.
do that?
Just strive for more.
We strive for more, all right?
But assessment is also assessing how well we're doing, not just how well they're doing.
Right.
Words are so very, very important. You cannot mix evaluation and assessment up. Evaluation is when we're grading what the student has done, evaluating their work product. Assessment is when we look at our learning outcomes. I know I'm about words.
Right. No, you bring up an important point. All right, so we're talking, and so we can go back and just review that process. Where do the learning outcomes originate?
They originate from the institutional outcomes passed down.
Which originate from what?
The mission statement.
All right.
Or the university goal.
And what's the mission? What's our mission?
Our mission is to get students successful, launch into successful careers.
Expound.
It's on my office.
It's on your office. Does it look like that?
Yes.
All right? Notice the key words, relevant and while providing an environment. All right? Why did I highlight those words?
Well, in technology, it can go out of date really quick, so we want to make sure we keep up with the times and that they're learning relevant material that the industry wants.
Okay, and how do we verify that we're meeting those parts of the mission? Through that A-word assessment, all right? And the article talks about assessment starts from the mission, all right? And whatever you assess should target keywords in that mission. So whatever you assess in a classroom, your assessment should target whether what you're doing is relevant, all right?
After
And
reading
whether
your-
you are providing an environment for learning.
After reading your article, for me now, I have an enhanced understanding of providing an environment in the sense that socially, they also need to get along with their peers and
Right.
the facility too. So that's one thing that I did not consider as much before.
You'd be surprised how very few articles there are on assessment and retention. I can only find 2. It's true. I
You
can only
mean
find
grouped
2.
together as an article? or
Yes,
you mean in-
yes, together. Retention and assessment in the same article. I can only find 2, and they're posted on WebClass, this one and another one. Right.
So, what are you saying? I mean, are you saying that they're two different things?
No, I'm saying that they should be tied together, but there's very little written material out there about tying them together. Most of the material is either focused on retention or focused on assessment, but not both together. All right? And then, so from that mission, you target that mission, that's where we create those ILOs, and then the PLOs, and then the CLOs. All right? And we had those, remember those matrices we filled out for ACICS for the courses, and we always had to map what courses, outlines meant these, and what meant those. All right? Everything should flow from that mission. All right, let's go back, make sure I covered it. So why is assessment? All right, it's that feedback loop that provides an indication of whether we are providing a good educational experience for our students. All right? Again, like somebody says, like Tom says, it lets us know how we're doing, all right, with what we say we're supposed to be doing. All right, it measures that. All right, and the entire point is, the end goal is to improve teaching and learning. All right, we covered our mission. So, what should the assessment address? All right, what should the students be learning? All right, that should be in the CLOs. How well are they learning it, and how do we know? All right. So we find out this, and that's our proof through assessment. All right, and there's this, the feedback loop that the article talked about with assessment. I added program reviews. Why did I add program reviews?
Probably once again to be relevant because of the fast change in technology base.
What is a program review?
It's assessment at the macro level.
There we go, all right? It's assessment at the macro level of the entire program, all right? And in the loop, all of the things are the same. We're gonna start out collecting data, we're gonna communicate the results throughout the university, we're going to pick items that need to be corrected, all right? Do we target every single item? No, all right, because it'll never get done. All right, so we pick a few key areas, we go on and accomplish those, and then we continue to collect data and assess over and over again. All right. Obstacles for assessment. There's no one person in charge. Who's in charge of our assessment here?
The faculty.
All right, but, yeah, but one person has to manage that effort, all right? The faculty as a whole, yes, they are ultimately involved in it, but one person has to manage the effort. All right? Data scattered all over the place. When we do these assessments, all right, who does assessments? All right? Faculty does, academics does assessments, student services does assessments,
Students
Alright?
do assessments.
Alumni does assessments, we have all of this data collected, but it's no one place, or no one individual who's charged with collecting all of that data, all right, and massaging and analyzing that data. We all got work to do, all right? So we're overloaded, so assessment, all right, becomes just another thing that's added on our plate. Amount of data is overwhelming, because again, we have so many departments doing it, and it's all over the place. And because, who's taking a look at our assessment plan lately?
Nobody.
No. Do we have one?
I'm sure on open cam somewhere.
Yes, yeah, oh, so, all right, so if there is one, it's unbeknownst to most of us where it's located and what's in it. All right. So the need is, the ultimatum is to create a good assessment plan. You have to have an assessment committee, someone who's in charge. You have to have individual roles and responsibilities on it. And we'll get into all of that stuff later, all right? All right. Tendency for everyone to wait on board before taking action, all right? This again goes back with, it's the same kind of statistics I talked about students, all right? You got 10% of the people who are ready to go, you don't have to convince them. The other 10%, they'll never see the light, and so you have to work with that 80% of the folks to get them on board. All right. Making assessment work, these kind of go into the opposite or corollaries of the previous slide. Organize assessment efforts, all right? Get an assessment committee together. Plan, have an assessment plan. Establish ongoing communications about assessment, all right? This is one step, all right? There should be constant faculty meetings, all right? Because faculty involvement, right there, is the key to it, making sure all the faculty is involved. Create linkages between academic affairs and student life, all right? Not only do we have to make their life bearable in the classroom, but we have to make their life bearable inside the doors and walls of this building. Right?
Okay, I'm gonna raise the issue. When you talk about support,
Yes.
our institution has not supported acceptable learning environment. No doors, no walls, no ceilings, and we have steadfastly refused to support the students that come to us lacking basic learning skills. We won't have a dumbbell class, period. Some people need them. Some people can become successful if they're given the support they need. We don't do that. And you can't keep them if you can't make them successful.
Good points about the
Complaining,
walls.
complaining.
Yes. No. In fact, what did the article talk about? The school has to show, all right, that it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Committed to this, in doing things like putting up walls in the classroom, all right? That's an important part. Will we be able to do that stuff right now? No. Hope, though, that we get, like so many other things, hope we get population up, and maybe that kind of thing can be addressed.
And how much effect do you think the WAS committee, would they perceive that, you think, in your personal
As
opinion?
far as?
Seeing no walls, no doors.
The only, well, unless it's brought up to them by students, then they won't have any insight into it.
Yeah, and I would also point out, you don't necessarily have to have walls. In ancient Rome, they met in the forum, in the marketplace. There are some slaves over there, donkeys over there, and students are supposed to be learning in camp. They made it happen.
There's nothing wrong, Schulte, John Schulte, first class in technical writing. Where does he hold his first class? In the cafeteria, all right? Students sitting back to back because he has them do this communication exercise where one person is behind and he's communicating a picture that he's looking at while the other person draws it, all right? take the class outside in the summer. All right? There's nothing that says you have to sit in the classroom. All right? If you're being bothered by an instructor that talks too loud, like Anthony, move the class. All right. Focus on collaborative problem solving. This should be, again, all departments. Retention is an all department thing. So all departments should be communicating and then build campus-wide awareness of the benefits of assessment. All right. Questions?
Can we get a copy of PowerPoint, cause I can.
It's posted
that.
on WebClass.
Okay.
I'm totally convinced, the only way to retain a student is find ways to make them successful in their learning program.
Yes. Slide number 2.
Hmm? Which means that the issues of, do they have the educational support they need
Mhm.
to fill in their background? We need to do something about that. Number one, we need to find out where the holes are,
Right.
then develop a program to fill those holes. Many years ago, out in Mesa, we had one faculty member who taught math courses,
Mhm.
but she also did remedial math. If a student was having trouble in mathematics, they were assigned to go to her, they had to pass a test with her before they could move ahead in the program. If they couldn't pass it, they had to take her dumbbell math class. Didn't charge them for it, just did it.
So she didn't call it dumbbell math class, though, did she?
I don't know what they did. I didn't have to take it, so I don't know what it was.
No, I'm of the opinion that what we should offer, probably a month before the term starts, some sort of class like that where we can invite students in, okay? What is your learning type? All right? And let us show you some methods, all right, to improve your learning capability.
We used to have programs like that, and there's a whole series, Success in Learning. That fell by the wayside.
Well, I think I'm gonna start it up again, or request that we do something like that.
How do we get them to start reading?
You know, well, again, so, so that goes back to what goes on in the classroom. Because our terms start, and the students haven't read, you know. Other places, the students have the book before because they have a break, all right, so they will start reading, all right. In fact, at Phoenix, that first night of class, you have an assignment due, so you have no choice but to read the book. All right?
We used to be that way here.
Yeah, so we start out a week behind. So the only way, again, to entice them to read the material is to make sitting in class exciting. And make them want to learn what you've talked about, learn more about what you've talked about.
I give them examples, Rob, like you know about Lars, right? Lars got a really good job by reading on his spare time. And I tell the students, you know that. And I say, if you want to get ahead in cybersecurity, you can't just send this class. You need to be picking up every book you find, passing those tests, and trying to get some of these certs under your belt.
I emphasize it, go way out of my way to tell them how important it is. But even the questions, they'll look it up on Google. There's a technical question at Google, and they'll find the answer. Instead of actually wanting to read and digest the whole thing that's inside of there. It's all about getting the work done instead of,
You have to make them remember, okay, like what I did for the first week. I teach online, but I'm also telling them what they need to do if they want to pass the course, that they have to read everything and understand it. And I also make a list on my first discussion for week 1. These are the things that's due for this week, you know, so they, you know, so they're reminded, you know, because a lot of them, they might read it, but they won't go back to it, or, you know, there's gotta be a way to remind them.
And it goes back also to the expectations. If you set the expectations, and the article specifically says, if you set the expectations low, then the student's not gonna do anything. Bottom line. So you got to set the expectations high, that way the student knows that he needs to engage, all right? Or his engine's gonna shut down.
One thing I noticed last night is my new class has only ebooks, and I heard the students in the hall at break talking about the ebooks. And they were excited because they found a way to get the Kindle reader to read the material to them when they were tired. And so these new technologies that are out there where you'll read the text for them, that can be used for the students to get excited about too.
And that's that auditory learning.
Well, and also when you have these long-term goals, you need to have short-term achievable goals.
Yes,
to lead
yes.
To the long-term
yes,
goals.
yes. And I was talking to Letitia, there's some just things to do in the classroom, After one lesson, you come back in the next week, tell one person, okay, tell me something that you learned last week, and then have the next person, okay, you can add to that or tell me something that you learned. Just little quick things to get a gauge on how they picking up the material. Then, if the student knows that you're doing that sort of thing, that might incentivize them also too.
Since a lot of us are on the assessment committee, right, the major of us, maybe we can start creating that repository that you're talking about.
Oh, there is an assessment committee, huh?
Yeah, and it's, when you're mentioning, that we're a week behind, I was thinking, actually, because faculty can decide collectively, because it would have to be consistent. They can decide to change that and let people know that the first week you show up with, it's something you have to bring or something you have to do in class.
And that could even be something just small, all right?
Yeah.
Write me a quick paragraph on what you want to learn out of this course.
Well, also, I think if you're requiring them to have the stuff the first day, especially since we're kind of back to back, we need to remind them to order their book a couple weeks ahead of time so they have the book, or that first week have something that's online that they can read, that they don't have to have the book that first week, and then they can participate that way. Because I find my students don't order the book and then they don't have it the first week. They get it the second week or third week, and then it's hard for them to read if they don't have the book, though they should have ordered the book. But I didn't remind them 2 weeks before. Maybe I didn't even know them 2 weeks before. And so maybe there's some vehicle for reminding them, this is the book you need. You need to order it now, and have a link or something so they know where to get their book.
And that's just simply just changing the way we operate.
Well, I
If we
got a
start doing
suggestion
that,
About that, Bill, because my students will get their schedule for the next month, it would be nice if they had ISBN in their book, in that paper as well.
Tom, we talked earlier about having a chapter copy of PDF that
That's
first
a
week.
good idea
And
on
maybe
some classes,
if we
yeah.
have for all classes a repository that first week, you can look at in our own file. We have that
you
first
gotta watch
week.
out for copyright.
Yeah, so we have to watch out
Talk
for
to
that.
publishers before you.
One
Yeah, yeah,
simple thing you can do in every single class is, your web classes get given to you a couple weeks ahead of the new schedule. You watch on Campus Cafe, the students getting signed up for your class. They don't have access to your web class. But once they're in your web class in Campus Cafe and they show up in the users, you can go to the news group, put a news group item in there, welcome to the class, put the links to the books, and you can send that over a week ahead of time before the new mod launches, and then they always will get that at their school email ahead of time.
At least 30%, if not 50% of the email addresses in Campus Cafe are bogus.
Well, that needs to be fixed then.
Well, we
That's
can
why-
measure that too by our census. We should have a check mark. Did they have a book that first week, and then we can actually use that information to see if it's, which one is working.
So these are all things for your faculty senate.
Very good.
Yeah. So, that's where all of this stuff starts. But yes, I am of the mind too that students should be prepared for that first session of that first week. And that's easy to change. If we get them into the habit of doing it, then that'll become part of the norm.
That could be even with the placement staff saying, you have to read and be ready your first week because they will have
Yeah.
quizzes or questions. So just to be aware, and maybe that starts even with just the placement personnel when they sign them up, say, yeah, we're really on top of it, we want you to learn, so you need to actually get the book and read before you even come to the first class and be ready to answer some questions.
I had to help my guys going from mod 1 to the next mod, try to track down what book they're supposed to have. If they would just include that in that paper they give them, that would make class a lot easier for them.
Isn't that all supposed to be on Coma.edu now?
Well, yeah, it's on web class, there's a link to the book list.
I think a student should understand that they're going to need some materials to study. I think the student, according to Malcolm Knowles, will be interested in acquiring those materials. I guess we're going to have to train our students that you have to have stuff to be able to
Yes,
learn.
Yes.
I can practically guarantee you, when a student walks into my classroom, 3 out of 4 class meetings with nothing in their hand, not a pencil, not a comb, not a laptop, not a book, nothing. They're
And that's
not
why-
gonna do well.
And that's why I say, we are a week behind already, every term.
Every
We
mod.
just need to
Are we
change
thinking
that.
about going the other way and giving it to them in advance again?
Giving what to
Well,
them.
as long as they know they can get it in advance.
Yeah, and that's, we should get them accustomed to that.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be a major deal, it's just something to get their minds set.
Yeah.
That they show up prepared to learn, rather than week 1 simply be introduction.
I go way past that, yeah.
All right. Any questions?
No, good food for thought.
All right.
Thank you, Bill, thank you.
Thanks, sir.